Hey everyone, how are you all doing today? My name is Jordan McCracken-Foster, and I'm a teaching artist here at Art Prof. And I'm here today with Prof Lieu, aka Clara Lieu. And today, what we're going to be doing is a session, a draw along on how to draw clothing. So, if you guys want to learn how to make your artistic weakness your strength, definitely check out our website, artprof.org, where we have lots of free tutorials and critiques and art dares and pro development tips. That's a great resource for you all. So, Clara, why don't you help us get started with pipe fold? What is this all about?
Yeah, a pipe fold is basically, for those of you who have been wedding dress shopping in the past, it's an A-line dress. So it's anytime you have the upper section of the body being very tight, like for example, around the waist, and then you have clothing that comes outwards, which is shaped like an A. And that's why it's called an A-line. And what's cool about the A-line too is that it's pretty dramatic. There's a reason why queens always have pipe folds in their dresses. Wouldn't you say that's the case, Jordan?
I would say so. I didn't think of it like that, but yeah, now that you bring it up, definitely. I mean, it's so prominent. You see this everywhere.
I just think pipe folds, they look very regal. Like they make you look very, I don't know, strong and bold. There's something about them because they're not as flowy. I think they do feel a little bit more formal in that way. Jordan, I was very proud of this sequence because in Les Mis, that has two of my favorite men in it. There's this one shot. You can see the coat in Jean Valjean's outfit. You can also see the dress that Cosette wears. And even over here, Jordan, tell us what movie this is from.
The Black Panther.
So
Yeah.
she's got pipe folds. And even the sling that Marius, Eddie Red made, he's so cute. I love him. He's got a pipe fold up there in his sling. So pipe folds are everywhere. And I think that they are not as expressive. They're usually pretty straight.
Mm-hmm.
And so people maybe don't notice them as much as some of the more dramatic folds. Mm-hmm. So why don't you explain the diaper fold, Jordan?
So a diaper fold comes from when you have one or two points of tension. So in this case with Emma Watson, I'm pretty sure it's from one of the Harry Potters, the tension points would be her shoulders. And you see the fold curving and going in that direction, it's going down. So if you guys have ever seen that diagram or assignment where people take a cloth and pin it up twice on the wall and you draw the hanging thing, that's the exact same thing that we're seeing here.
W315 is saying a 1950s circle skirt will have pipe folds too, right? I don't know what that looks like, but maybe.
I would say probably yes. The real point of a pipe fold is if it's compressed at the top and then like gravity does its thing and it makes these cylindrical shapes going all the way around. So as long as you have that, then you'll pretty much get pipe folds. So usually skirts will have them because that's just the way they're designed.
Okay, and now up next, we have the more dramatic, super expressive, moving fold. And Jordan, I have to admit, I don't know who that character is on the left. I just know they're from the Marvel universe. So
that is Valkyrie. Valkyrie. She is now the Queen of Asgard from Thor franchise.
Whatever. I have no idea what any of that's about.
Just talk about your guy on the right. It's fine.
I do know who's on the right. Benedict. Although, you know what makes me sad about when he's Doctor Strange? I don't like him speaking with an American accent. It's like, what is such a waste of that beautiful British accent? It just makes me really sad. So we question from Dara, who says, are these types of folds naturally occurring or intentional, like a pleated kilt?
They happen naturally. And even if, like in my sweatshirt, there's several types of folds and curves and things that you'll see. Some of them can be pressed into the clothing. Like, let's say you have a pair of jeans and they're a little old and they're kind of stuck in their ways. Sometimes you'll just have folds that naturally are imprinted in them because they've been through a lot. So, yeah, That's the easiest way I could put that.
We have another comment from Neil who's saying, how can I draw moving folds from life? You can't. It's basically impossible because you need the flow. I mean, maybe you could turn on a fan, but it's not going to work out very well. So I suppose in that case, you could take your own photo of a cape, or you can use a reference from online, because there's just, it's sort of like pictures underwater. It's like, what are you going to do? It's not really an option. So Jordan, what about circumstances where folds are sometimes missing and then the image actually looks really weird and artificial?
Okay, so I'm going to start this off by saying you all know how much I love Spider-Man, and he's my favorite superhero. But there is a problem I have with the MCU version of his suit, and it's that when they take it into post-production, they remove pretty much every wrinkle from his suit, which makes it feel very artificial. Because there's no such fabric, there's no fabric in the world that will have absolutely no wrinkles, no folds whatsoever. And so, yeah, I have a problem with this. And also, so you guys know, if you have a thicker fabric, you'll have less folds. If you have a thinner fabric, you'll have more folds. And with this suit, it's supposed to be very thin. I should be seeing tons of wrinkles everywhere, and it boggles my mind. I'm like, why would we get rid of that? It makes it look so much better when we can see that type of stuff. It just feels artificial sometimes, you know?
And even clothing that's tight, like spandex, there's still going to be some folds. They're just not going to be as dramatic as, say, having a cape or something. So I think it's strange when people avoid the folds because they don't want to draw them, or they try too hard and they make the folds too dramatic. That's why drapery is so difficult. It's like, how do you get that nice medium in between?
Right.
All right. Why don't you explain what the dead fold is, Jordan?
The dead fold basically is just a fold that isn't really actively moving. It's usually like laying on the floor, like in this example. You can get it from a towel or, long drapery type of clothing, and there's no real rhyme or reason to it. It's just there. So it's not like a formula, like a pipe fold, where we could say it's tight at the top, loose at the bottom. It's just doing whatever.
I think a good thing to search for too, no matter what fold you're doing, is tension. For example, when we looked at the pipe fold, the tension is around the waist because that's where the dress comes together. Now in the dead fold, there's no tension at all. It's just like bleh. And so it's a very different look. It looks dead. It doesn't have any motion going on in there. So that's the way to consider that. All right, how about this zigzag fold on Mulan?
So zigzag folds primarily come from being wrapped around a cylindrical object like an arm or a leg. And it's just where you see a simple zigzag shape. And it's pretty consistent, but I would say just make sure it's not a complete pattern. You want to have it still be loose in your drawing where it's believable, but not super, super formulaic, if that makes sense.
Well, I think the thing is, you can't expect drapery to behave a certain way. It doesn't. I mean, yeah, this is zigzags, but you'll notice the zigzags are different. Sometimes they're shorter, sometimes they're longer. And so there's a structure, but there's also somewhat of a randomness to what happens as well. And so the funny thing, actually, you guys, I have a little confession. I did not know about these fold types until like a week ago when I said to Jordan, oh, we're going to do this stream about how to draw clothing. Jordan's like, oh, well, we'll go over I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. So Jordan, where does this stuff come from? I honestly do not know.
It's just something that I think people have just discovered over time, sort of like how perspective came up. It's like people were looking at it and studying and like, oh, we could create a formula for this. Because one thing that I know a lot of artists, especially younger artists or inexperienced artists, struggle with is knowing where to put the folds in the clothing. And I know that we see them, but they might not know why the folds do what they do. And if you don't do a convincing job, the art will just not be convincing, and it just will not draw people in. And so our job with this stream is to help you guys see some of those things so that you don't make those mistakes.
By the way, tell us in the chat, how many of you guys here feel like you struggle with drawing clothing and drapery? Are you avoiding it because you don't like drawing? It's sort of like the hands in the pockets type of thing. Like people don't want to draw the hands. And so they do things like that. And Karen is saying, what I would like to know is how you draw folds like John Singer Sargent. I would like to know too. So Karen, when you find out, you let me know so I can start painting drapery like him. Let's just take a good look at this one. I just love this picture. He looks so upset. It's just, oh, it's great. Anyway, we do have a spiral fold. I searched long and hard for this photo because I want to make sure you guys really understand this. So Jordan, how is this different than the zigzag? Because I think it would be easy to assume that they're sort of the same thing.
Right. Well, the main difference is, or let's start with the similarities. The similarities is that they are also wrapped around cylindrical objects like arms and legs. So that's primarily the only place you'll see it, except instead of going like a zigzag, it just kind of curls around the form. Like, I was trying to see if I could see it on my own sweatshirt to show you guys, but we have the photos for that. So yeah, it just makes a spiral shape, and yeah, that's the simplest way to put it.
I mean, I think part of the zigzag fold, if we go back, is that it's usually, you know, when you like roll up your sleeves, and so the sleeve gets like crunched up. I feel like that's where the zigzag fold is really clear. But in a picture like this, where the sleeve is not tucked up like that, it does tend to be a little bit less tense. And so it sort of like flows down as opposed to being scrunched upwards.
Yeah. And a lot of it a lot of it does have to do with observation too, because there are times where you could see either a zigzag fold or a spiral fold on a scrunched up, scrunched up fabric on the arm or something. So it just really depends, and I guess it's a matter of your reference and a matter of what it is that you want to get out of the pose that you're drawing.
I also think the spiral fold tends to be a little bit more clear when the clothing's loose. Like if you look at this outfit, let's take a good look. The clothing is not as tense as it is, say, here. Like this looks a lot more folded up. So a lot of what I will be talking about today and what Jordan will be mentioning is like, where's the tension? Like where does the fabric really just go all out and just fall all over the place? And where does it have a little bit more structure to it? Okay, why don't you tell us what the half lock fold is?
So half lock folds come in when there is a very strong change in motion. So when you have the arm folding like this or the leg, you will see that type of fold. So, and it's usually anchored around the joint area. So the elbow if it's the arm, or the knee if it's the leg.
Yeah, we have a comment here from Johnny who says, I like fashion illustration, but struggle with a good structure for the folds. They always look like they're kind of floating around the body rather than hanging. That's a great point, because I do think with clothing, you have to think about weight distribution. Like where's the fold just lying there limp, and when is it all crunched up? That's really important to do. And what I find a lot of the time is with clothing, people either make the clothing too round or too geometric, when really it's a little bit of both. And so you can't just make it like worms. That's sort of what happens if you make it too round, I suppose. What do you think?
Yeah, no, you definitely need a balance. And another key thing that I think is important when drawing clothing, it's not really mentioned, we haven't mentioned it so far, but it's wraparounds. Like making sure you understand when something is going back in space and when something is actually wrapping around an object physically, because that will also determine how the clothes look. And sometimes that affects the way you draw folds as well.
And we have another comment here from Joe, and they are saying, this is why I draw nudes. Your hair is awesome, Jordan. I know we've all been going through these like hair things. But Joe, you bring up a really good point, because I was telling Jordan earlier that when I was at art school, I am not kidding, I never drew a clothes model in class. All we ever drew with nudes. And when I got out of school, this is so silly, I was doing some portrait commissions, and people don't usually pose nude for a portrait commission. I was like, oh my God, what do? I can't paint clothing.
Yeah, same Same thing happened to me when I was in undergrad. Exact same story as Clara. I didn't know any of this stuff until about 2 years ago when I was forced to take a clothed figure drawing class. But I will say it is important to have the foundation of drawing the nude figure because some of those tension points, like the shoulder and the elbows and like things like that, are very important to determining how the clothes will look. So you definitely want to be able to balance both of those as you're continuing to grow in your artistic journey.
Seven Angelic is saying, is there a rhyme or reason to the drapery on wider areas like the torso? Not really, because it depends on how the clothing is designed, and then also depends on the type of fabric. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, if you're wearing a very skin tight type of shirt that's very thin fabric, that's going to look one way as opposed to a very baggy shirt that doesn't have any tension. So it depends on the material of the clothing, the size of it, whether your figure is a man or a woman. Like there's a lot of things that can determine how certain things will look around the torso area.
And here's another comment from Jabberjaws says, I know when you draw clothes, you don't draw every fold, just the ones that show movement and such. Yeah, I mean, you don't have to draw drapery in a hyper realistic rendered manner. It's like drawing anything else. You pull out the parts that are really going to communicate what you're trying to show. And that's the important thing. You don't have to make it like a photo. So we actually put together, well, I put together, as you can tell, you guys don't know, this is from Macbeth. Although he doesn't look very good in this movie. He's all dirty. But anyway, in this scene, you can see it's two people, and there's so many fold types in one scene. And so oftentimes you'll have, within just one figure, maybe there's 4 or 5 different fold types. So we have half lock fold on Michael, and then we have a dead fold, because Lady Macbeth is always somehow upset in this movie. She's always like kneeling on the floor for some reason. And then we have pipe fold because she's wearing an A-line dress. And then we also have the spiral fold, which is coming around her arm. So Jordan, do you think it's important to break things down like this when you're doing figures?
Definitely. If you're drawing a figure, first off, I think it's important to know when these things happen, which is why we spend so much time saying, this type of fold only happens around the arm. And because if you have a spiral fold and it's like across the torso, you might throw off somebody. It's just not going to look real. So I think studying these, understanding these, or at least having access to some sort of chart that will remind you is incredibly important. And it'll make your character look really dynamic if you can figure out how to make these things work.
Vanessa is saying, something that I really struggle with is to make patterns look real in a fold because of the curvature. It always looks funky. Well, if you guys want to see somebody who does such good patterns on clothing, look at a Vermeer painting and look at how he paints rugs. Oh God, you're going to develop such an inferiority complex because he's so good at it. I mean, I feel like we should do a stream just about patterns because that's a whole other can of worms when we talk about all these things. So Jordan, tell people about this book that I just learned about 10 minutes ago.
Sure. It's called Drawing People, How to Portray the Clothed Figure by Barbara Bradley. And it's a book that I used in my class that taught me everything I know about clothed figure drawing. It's a classic. And the lady who wrote this book, she like redesigned the entire illustration program at the school that she worked at. So a lot of our information can be found there. You can get a hard copy, or you can find it on, whatever Play Store or Apple Store, or whatever it is. It's very easy to find.
And Jordan, you actually did take a class on how to draw clothing. Was that helpful for you?
Oh yeah, this book was incredibly helpful, and I have it on my iPad specifically because as I was going to and from class, I would study it and get ready for the day or review the notes that I learned in class. So this book is incredibly helpful, very inexpensive, but it'll teach you a lot of great stuff. So you guys should get it.
Awesome. So you have that as a reference, and we're going to do a pipe fold demonstration today because pipe folds are so important, right?
Yeah. All the pipes folds are important. Let's do it.
Exactly. Okay. So Jordan is going to be drawing with Procreate today, and I'm actually going to be doing colored pencil. And before we get started, I just want to mention that the supplies I'm going to be using today are from Faber-Castell. So thank you so much, Faber-Castell, for providing supplies. And the pencils I'm using are called Albrecht Dürer watercolor pencils, although I'm not going to be using the watercolor part of it. And we've selected a whole bunch of reference photos, which, by the way, you guys can see them in the video description below. So if you would like to draw along with us, this would be really fun for us to do. So,
do it, guys, draw with us.
Yes. Otherwise, you guys don't get to complain about how difficult clothing is, because we're giving you the opportunity to practice, right?
Yeah, that's right.
I just want to give a quick shout out to Scott Gilly, who says, I see much clothing drawing in my future as an illustrator. I definitely need to learn. Also, Peter Paul Rubens rocked at drawing clothes and ropes. Yeah, and also lots of very large women and fat babies. Okay, so let's get going. We're just going to draw pieces of the figures just for time, so that way we have time to do all the other stuff. Oh, let me get rid of the Faber-Castell image. Hang on one second. Let's just remove that. And I got to pull up my reference. So here we go. Okay. So tell us in the chat if you guys are drawing along with us, because I want to see results, you guys.
Yeah, it's always really exciting when we get to see what you guys are working on, because there have definitely been times where I'm like, how did you do that in the 35, 45 minutes we were drawing? It's so exciting. It's like, whoa, we got some rock stars in here. So we want to see those rock star drawings, guys.
Jordan, the bottom of this sash is going to be a pain.
Oh, because of all the little, what do you even call those? The little strings things? I don't know.
Tassels?
Tassels, yes, that word. That word. I woke up. Yeah, fairly.
You know what we need, Jordan? We need like a fashion person on staff to tell us all these fashion things.
Oh, that would be cool. Support us on Patreon. We'll put it in the budget.
Exactly. So we can hire all the expertise that we're missing.
Right.
Has anybody seen this movie? This is sort of an obscure movie that I think I watched it on the airplane because I was really bored. It's called Victoria and Abdul. And actually, Judi Dench is in it. She's really cool. I mean, of course, she plays a queen because she's always playing a queen.
I don't know anything about this movie. I don't think I knew Judi Dench until you started explaining like who she was.
Oh
What? What?
She's Judi Dench. How can you not know Judi Dench?
Clearly someone didn't tell me about her before.
Come on, James Bond. You never watched a James Bond movie?
You act like she's in every James Bond movie, though.
Well, she's in a lot of them.
Who does she play?
She plays, what's her name? Is it Q? I can't remember. She's got some weird name that's like one letter.
Oh, M. Okay, got it.
M, that's it.
Okay. Q is the gadget guy who's he played by in the recent one? I forget who he's played by. I feel like it's a Quentin something. I don't know. But yeah, okay, now I know who that is. Now I know.
I have to frame it in the right context, Jordan.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Oh shoot, I didn't make the sash wide enough. Oops. That's bad. Oh man, I'm so lost. What did I do? I think I confused the bottom of the sash with the bottom of the back part. Oh shoot. Do you ever get lost in the folds, Jordan?
Yes, that happens. I actually just fairly recently got into that issue, and what I try and do first is I just try and draw the big major folds first, and just make sure I understand what that is, and then I'll do all the small ones later. It's easier for me to think that way. So
do you just start with lines and then you do the shading, or do you jump around? Or I don't know if you're going to do shading, but
I'll probably do a little bit of shading, but nothing super intense. But yeah, I usually like to start with line. I think if I can understand what's going with the line, then the shading will just enhance it. That's just my personal philosophy. So, um, so yeah, I want to start with that, and I also like drawing fairly angular when I can. I just feel like it gives the clothes. It feels like it's more crisp, like they were just ironed or something like that. I don't know. I just like that whole aesthetic. It's nice to me.
See, for me, usually I'm really into putting in the tone very early, but I feel like with clothing, it's like too confusing for me
Yeah,
to do that.
yeah. I could definitely see how that would happen. Um, yeah, and like because if I don't put these lines first, then I won't know where to put the tone, and so it confuses me. And oh, another thing I should also mention, designing your folds is really key, I think, to also having good clothing. It's not just a matter of replicating exactly what you see, but you also want to be an artist on top of that and figure out what design, what lines will look really strong. So one thing I just did here is I try to have these two fold or pipe folds here just kind of come make a triangular shape like this, just because it's a little bit more interesting than if I were to have them parallel. So you could think of stuff like that. I think it's really good too.
I never do that. I don't know what you're talking about, actually.
Oh, okay. Let's see if I re-explain it. Okay, so parallel lines are usually not strong in a design, right? It's usually pretty
Right,
bland.
right.
So anytime I see two lines going together for like a fold, I try to do everything in my power to not make them exactly parallel because that's just boring. So, like with the
Oh.
example here, I try to give it more of a triangular shape, uh, or I'll pull one line longer than the other just to give it, some more flavor and anything I can do just to make it more unique, more interesting to me. Because if I'm having more fun drawing it, then I imagine that more people will have fun looking at it.
That's so weird because I'm just like pure observation. Like I don't do any stylization at all. I just sort of look and draw. Is that really boring?
I don't think so. It's just the person, you know. It's just something that I like to do because for me personally, I actually struggle a lot with having quote unquote boring designs sometimes where, it's just, I don't I don't really push certain things, certain aspects of it. And so now I really try to pay attention, like, okay, what is it that I can do to make this even cooler? And if it's just a matter of making the lines more triangular or something, then I'll do that. Um, and it's usually not that hard. I just had to pay attention.
Scott Gilly is saying, I heard that people sometimes draw too many folds and exaggerate it, thereby accidentally creating a focal point or overdeveloping the clothing as opposed to the actual place the eye should rest. Well, I think it just depends on what you want to emphasize. Like for me, I'm super excited about this part here underneath the sash where the two pieces of clothing intersect. Like that's a really cool area of tension. So it really depends on how you want to go about doing it. And let's see, Dara is saying it's interesting to watch the difference in their line stylizations. I know, and I think that's really fun because I feel like when I watch you draw, Jordan, I'm like seeing another language. It's like really cool.
I feel the same way. It's so different. Like it's even especially with the draw alongs we've done, like I've drawn with you, Kat, and Deep D, and every single one of you is something completely different than I would do or even think of. So it's really, really cool getting a chance to do that.
Well, it's interesting because when I teach, there are certain words that I try to avoid. And one of the words I try to avoid is correct. Because what does that mean?
Mm, right.
For art, at least.
Yeah, I get that. There's I actually was reading a book on writing not so long ago, and one of the introductions was he doesn't like using the word should, as in you should have your character do this or you should not have your
Mm.
like that kind of stuff because everything it's about the context of the story, and sometimes certain things work. And same thing applies with art, you know. And there's, like you said, tons of different styles, tons of different ways to express what you're going for. Although there are definitely some principles that I think should at least be learned before you break them.
Oh, sure.
Which is, I think, what we seek to do here at Art Prof. But yeah, definitely important to get the understanding.
Well, I mean, I think you and I understand the same fundamentals. It's just how we go about articulating it is not remotely the same.
Right.
You know what's funny? The blue section of the clothing, when I first looked at it, I didn't think there was a lot of wrinkle stuff, but there's actually sort of a lot. Are you discovering the same thing?
In the blue spot, you said?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's actually quite a few. They're more subtle, I think, because of the shadow and
Yeah.
because the fabric is thicker. So that's an example of something we were saying before. Of you will notice that the thinner a fabric is, the more folds you'll have. But because this, what would we even call this? Would this be part of the robe? Or
I have no idea. I bet there's some name for this outfit, but I don't know. I have like no fashion knowledge at all.
Yeah, because I don't want to be insensitive. I legit just do not know. So
yeah, I just don't know. It's so much easier just to admit you don't know things, don't you think?
Yeah, I think it gets you off the hook for a lot of stuff.
It
does. But this particular type of clothing, the fabric is thicker, much thicker, in fact, than the white sash that he has on, and so it has a completely different look for the folds. So, let's see.
So one thing that I'm doing right now that I'm very conscious of is I'm thinking very deliberately about how hard I'm pressing with the colored pencil. Like this section up here, which is closer to the waist, I'm pressing down pretty hard because I want to show that that's an area of tension. And then another thing I think about too is how soft or hard is my edge that I'm drawing with. Do you ever do that?
A softer. Yes. Sorry, it took me a second to. Yes, I think that's really important because it's very easy to be cartoony with these sort of things, and I have a habit of doing that where I'll just oversimplify it in a cartoony way. But I think what's important is making sure you know where the tension or where the folds start and end, because you kind of want to taper off and have that nice flow to it. But if you just have everything abrupt and super dependent on harsh lines, sometimes comes off a little odd. I'll just say that.
Yeah, I feel like a ways back somebody told me that they thought it would be good to do a stream about edges, and it's funny, edges are so minor in a drawing, but they really make a big difference depending on if it's hard or soft or in between.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the smallest details end up making the biggest difference. Like, even like if you're doing a portrait, for example, and you put the eye slightly off in the wrong place, like it's too far away from the nose or something, that's something that people are going to gravitate towards, and just naturally because it just feels off. And even if the rest of the painting is flawless, then that's that one area that needs work. It's just one of those things that's incredibly important to know and understand. Same thing happens with clothing.
Dice of Words is saying, "Hi, Prof Lieu, what pencil do you use?" Karen Dash. No, it's actually this brand, Faber-Castell. These are called Albrecht Dürer watercolor pencils. I like these because they're soft, but not too soft. I always feel like Goldilocks when I say that. But they're really nice because sometimes the Prismacolor ones are so soft that they almost crumble. But I also don't like the ones that are super hard because then it's difficult to get a range of textures and darkness. And actually, we have a comment from Scott. Well, it's a question from Scott. I think I know the answer. Who's saying, "Does the pencil automatically make you draw like Albrecht Dürer?" Take a look at my drawing, you guys. Just guess if that's true or not.
Just gotta believe. We just gotta believe. That's all.
Gotta believe I'm going to be superhuman. I don't think so.
Why not? We just show Marvel heroes for goodness sake.
Oh, God, Durr, you make me mad. Angers me. It's not fair. It's not fair that people are born like that.
Yeah, it's certainly not. But we gotta live with those people. So what are you gonna do?
Well, we talk about, talent and what does that mean? And I'm sorry, but talent exists, okay? You don't just like work hard and get like that. That is like superhuman powers in your fingers that you were born with.
I tend to think that there are those anomalies that just for whatever reason are just excelling at everything that they do or whatever field they choose. But for the rest of us, the 99% of us who can't do that, yeah, we're kind of stuck. But what else are we gonna do? Just quit because someone's better? I feel like that would ruin the whole purpose.
Totally. I mean, what would be the point of doing anything? Right?
Yeah, exactly. Okay. I think this one's almost done.
AJ is saying, Professor Lieu's colored pencils make me uncomfortable. There's so much lead showing. How is it not breaking off? Well, you know something? These pencils, like I said, they're hard enough that they're not totally falling apart. So that definitely helps me. And I'm not pressing hard the whole time. I'm just pressing hard sometimes. Hey, what kind of fabric do you think this is, the sash? Do you think it's like linen?
Yeah, I would say linen. Just looking at the texture as much as I can, I would say it's probably some sort of linen.
And you guys tell us in the chat see if somebody can figure out what the outfit is, because sometimes you guys do research during the streams.
Yeah, that's always so cool.
We'll give brownie points if you can figure out what this type of clothing is called, and let's get some guesses on what type of material it is, because oh my gosh, there's so many types of fabric out there. It's insane.
That's actually one of the assignments we got when we were, or one of the things that we did when I was in like clothes figure class. We would draw. I think the first week was a guy just in the regular tank top and shorts, and then we would go to doing like Victorian era stuff, and then we would do. We had one guy dressed up as in a Jason mask, and someone was Freddy.
What?
Yeah, it was really
no
cool.
kidding.
And we had, what else do we have? We had someone dressed up as Santa Claus one time, or Mrs. Santa Claus. Yeah, we just got such a wide variety. It was really, really fun.
Who provided the outfits?
Actually, well, for that class, there was a whole storage room for models to find whatever clothing that they wanted for whatever session. But sometimes in our figure drawing workshops, we would have models come in and they would dress up like Vikings. Like there's this one guy who was he's pretty big, and he had this really insane beard. He was bald, and he would put makeup on his face and put on like a vest and bring a sword and like this, these crazy sandals and everything. And he would straight up look like a Viking warrior, and it was so fun to draw him. And we would get like 10-15 minutes to do it, and it was just the best. I miss that time so much.
We never did that when I was in art school.
Yeah, well.
We just drew naked people all the time.
Yeah, well, I think it's important to get practice for both, because your skills are gonna be in balance that way, and I think that's the key when it comes to drawing the store stuff. You gotta find that balance, and you have
it's so important. Oh, geez, I'm such an idiot. I should have done the tassels from the beginning, and now I'm frustrated because I didn't do them at all, and now I'm screwed.
Sorry, Clara. I'm sorry.
So guys, don't do what I did. Do what Jordan did.
I'm thinking of what I'm doing. I'm going to move to the Emma Watson portion now.
See, I'm demoing what not to do, because that's important.
It's fine, Clara. It's fine. I
Did
think
you see Little Women, Jordan? This movie that Emma Watson's in?
no. I've only seen Emma Watson in the Harry Potter films when I was a kid, and after that, I just never followed her career. Not that
Really?
I think she's really great, but I just, whatever film she was in, I was just like, not really for me. And so I just kind of haven't watched her in a while.
Did you hear that she tried to go to Brown University for a little while?
She was there at my time at RISD.
Oh, she was?
Yeah, I never saw her or anything, but I think I know she had like a security guard around her at like all times, and I heard
Oh,
some people say they saw her at parties or things like that. But again, I never saw her or met her or anything like that. But I feel like she might have graduated when I was maybe a sophomore, a freshman, something like that. I can't really remember at this point. I do remember one time a teacher said that James Franco was a student at RISD. That was pretty
he
cool.
was.
Yeah.
Actually, Casey Roonan, who used to be on Art Prof, he had a class with James Franco.
I wonder if it's the same class I'm referring to, because it was a comics class that I took where the teacher said James Franco was in it. And
Maybe. I thought it was a liberal class, but I could be wrong.
I don't know. Knowing how much Casey loves comics, you can totally see him there, but I really don't know.
I don't know. It's like situations like that. It's like, who would want to be a celebrity? It just sounds like such a terrible life to lead. Like people bothering you all the time, and like, ugh.
What was really sad to me? I saw a documentary, and it was the day in the life of Michael Jackson. He once rented out an entire grocery store so he could shop there like a normal person for a day.
Oh, that's terrible.
Just like, look at all the cereal. He's like, oh my gosh. And then he started riding in the cart, through the aisle. And he's like, I've never done this. And I just felt bad for him. I was like, what 50-year-old man can't go into the grocery store? Like, that's.
And it's like, here's the thing. Like, if I saw a celebrity, let's say I saw Hugh Jackman, like, I would never have the nerve to, like, go talk to him. Like, I feel like that's so invasive. But people do it all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They're as a kid, it's really exciting. I remember seeing a couple celebrities in my youth, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's, so and so from, whatever Nickelodeon show I was watching at the time. And then as I got to be like a teenager and a little bit older, and now I'm seeing some of the classmates that I graduated with in movies. It's really, and like Deep D and the Butterfingers commercials.
I know.
Like, it is what it is. I guess that's just how things are now.
Let's see. Johnny Pearson says wool and cotton blend. All right. That sounds cool. And let's see. Karen says there are whole written on the influence of the British Raj on Indian clothing. Oh, that's really cool. Because I can't remember, but I think this movie does take place in Britain. But I saw this a really long time ago. Yeah, in the chat, you guys, who had a celebrity encounter, and tell us what it was. I saw Nathan Lane having lunch in New York.
Let me see.
Wasn't
I think for me, the most exciting one for me was Jack Black being at my grad night as a high schooler.
What?
He went to the same high school that I went to, but he graduated in like '87. And so on our grad night, we went to go see a movie in the Chinese theater in LA. And he just showed up and he's like, hey! And he's like screaming and stuff. And we're like, what the heck is going on? That was pretty wild.
I'm trying to think. You know who went to my high school? What's his face? The guy on Friends. What's his name? Matthew Perry?
Oh, Matthew Perry? Oh, okay.
He went to my high school.
Oh, that's so cool.
And so did Louis C.K.
Really? That's interesting.
Yeah. So weird.
I just think it's
all right. I think I'm going to move on to another one so we get some variety in here. I guess I'll do Emma Watson as well.
Join me.
She's got that like very billowy dress. Like you can see the wind going into the ocean.
Right. No, this one's actually a lot of fun. Although I think I drew this arm a little off.
Slepnir says, I saw Garfunkel eating at a snack bar. And Seven Angelic says, I met Leonard Nimoy. And Dara says, Jim Caviezel came through my morning Starbucks shift at college. I didn't know it was him, though. He's the guy that played Jesus in Passion of the Christ.
Yep. That's so crazy.
And Christiana says, I like Lou's coloring and shading, but I like Jordan's graphic lines. Cool. Awesome. Yeah, it's sort of like, I feel like it's like apples and oranges. You know, one is not better. They're just different.
Yeah, that's all it is. And this isn't a contest. We're just drawing, having fun, talking about celebrities we once met.
Exactly.
It's just like...
Although, I don't know if this counts as meeting him, but I did see Hugh Jackman on Broadway.
When you say see him, you mean like you sat in the pews and you just watched him perform type of thing?
Oh, no. He was like in the show.
But you were like an audience member?
Yeah, I was an audience member.
Yeah, that's not meeting. That's seeing him. Meeting him, I imagine, is like, hi, my name is so-and-so. Nice to meet you.
That really, I have to say, though, and this is not just because I think he's amazing, but that was quite honestly one of the most incredible performances live I've ever seen in my life. Like, I have never seen that kind of energy. It was incredible.
I'm trying to think. I've seen a few Broadway plays, but it's been so long now. The ones that I saw that I remember, I saw The Color Purple, which was amazing. I saw The Lion King at least 2 or 3 times. Maybe a couple others, but those are the ones that stand out to me as like big major productions.
Wait, did you see The Lion King, like the one that Julie Taymor directed? Is that the one?
I don't know. I didn't really care about directors at the time I saw it. Last time I saw it, I was probably like 12 though. So
okay.
It's been a while because it was when I was in New York for the summer at 12 years old, and my mom and I, we just went and did a bunch of fun stuff. And she's like, let's go see Lion King. I'm like, dope, let's do it, you know? Stuff like that, so.
Yeah, that's one of your favorite movies, right?
Lion King. I like, it is one of my favorites, but as a Disney movie, I like Hercules and Tarzan the most. Hercules was my childhood. It may or may not be the best Disney movie to some people, but that just hit me differently. That's all I can say.
I don't know. It's sort of like a nostalgia thing. You know, it's like it doesn't matter that it wasn't the best, most cinematic experience. It's just you associate that with a certain time period.
Yeah, exactly. Like I can't, like, no one's allowed to diss Hercules to me. It's just like, nope, that wasn't my childhood. You can't, no, I don't care. I don't care.
Well, you know something? I don't really like musicals, but I love Les Mis because I listened to that over and over again in the 7th grade. And it's like, it just makes you feel a certain way.
Wait, what movie? I didn't hear what you said.
Les Mis, the Broadway show.
Oh, got it. I remember, I don't think I've actually seen the movie, the one that just came out a couple years ago. But I remember all the theater kids in my school were just raving about it. They were like, oh my gosh. I was like, what the heck is this? I was so confused because I didn't know what movie they were talking because I saw Les Miserables. I don't know what that is.
You know what? The movie was not that good, actually. I did not like the movie. But Eddie Redmayne's in it. He's so cute. Oh, crap. I totally messed up the proportions, Jordan.
I think I messed up a couple things too. But you know, something I learned is if you mess up, and no one notices, just don't say anything.
Exactly. No, that's so true.
Because there was I might have talked about this on the stream with Alex a couple days ago, but there have been times where someone's done a presentation and they show their portfolio where I was in school and stuff, and they'd be like, yeah, I need to fix A, B, and C. This isn't very good. I'm like, dude, stop. Don't make it work for yourself.
Oh, it looks like AJ did some research. Apparently the outfit is supposed to be a quote Indian servant outfit, but I couldn't find the exact name. And we have some more celebrity encounters. Snazzylicious says Lady Gaga went to my grandma's grocery store once, and I was there, but I wasn't at the grocery store. I wanted to cry.
That's sad.
We also 10,000 Crows. Johnny Depp came to an art museum in my town, but I wasn't at the museum. He was there. Oh, I would like to see Johnny Depp. He's cute.
Oh, if we're going in that lane where it's like I was almost there, but I was there. One time Obama came down my street to Roscoe's.
Wait, he came down your street?
Yeah, I was living in LA. I was in high school and we didn't know he was in town. And I remember I was going home. I took the bus home and it was taking like 3 hours. I was like, why is it taking so long? It takes 45 minutes normally. The traffic was backed up. And we found out later, like, oh, Obama's in town. We're like, oh, wow, okay, that's a pretty big deal. And when I got about a block away from my street, there were all these like Secret Service cars like going by and stuff. And it turns out he went down the street to the Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles to get some food, which was literally a block away from where I lived. And we saw his car go by and everything. And now if you go to that exact same Roscoe's, there's a picture of him with the employees and they renamed his order to the Obama special.
Oh my God, that's a cool story. I really like that.
Of course I didn't meet him, but I didn't even see him, but I knew he was there. So
yeah, but it's just like it's the idea.
Yeah.
They walked on the same ground.
Right.
Well, you could like win some big medal and then maybe you would meet Obama or something, Maybe that's your only chance.
Some sort of humanitarian award for drawing clothing on a live stream. I don't know.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, they give like those national medals to the super famous arts people, right? I think they do.
I guess so. I
feel like I've seen that.
Yeah, I just never seen it done in my specific field, really, unless I do something revolutionary like make Toy Story.
Or you can make shadow boxers.
I could do that. We will see. We will see.
Looks like we have a lot of Hamilton people. Neil says Hamilton is on Disney Plus. I don't have Disney Plus. Johnny says, hope Hamilton comes out as a movie unless it already has. I haven't found it. I haven't seen Hamilton, but everybody raves about how incredible it is.
Yeah, I don't know. I watch the same like 10 things over and over again.
That's what I do.
Although I did watch a show that was new for me and I love it. It's, have you seen Cobra Kai? Do you know that show?
Oh, isn't that the like Karate Kid?
So good. It's hilarious.
Wait, who's in it?
The guy who LaRusso, Ralph Macchio, he's in it. And then
he is?
Mm-hmm, he's in it. And the guy who played the main antagonist in the first movie, the blonde guy, Johnny Lawrence, whatever his actor's name is, I don't know. But they're both in it. And what they do is they flip it. So it's from the perspective of Johnny Lawrence, who got his butt kicked by LaRusso in the first Karate Kid, and you just see how their lives turn up, and it's basically about him restarting Cobra Kai, which is the dojo that he trained in, and they have tons of Miyagi references, and you don't even have to watch the movies to even know what they're doing because they'll flash back to things when it's important, but it's so funny, it's so great. And third season's coming out in January. It's going to be an early birthday gift for me. I'm excited.
Oh, they're totally playing on the nostalgia for that one, for sure.
Oh, heck yeah. Definitely.
I mean, when that movie came out, it was such a big deal.
I can imagine. My mom had me watch that movie, and, she was like, I love it. It's from the 80s, blah, blah, blah. And there's tons of newer references as well. Like, there's a joke in there about Johnny Lawrence training one of the younger, like a teenager, and he had like a really like weird ringtone or something like that. He's like, put some Guns N' Roses on there or something. Stop be on there. He's like, what's Guns N' Roses? And he looks at him. He's like, I'm gonna pretend you didn't say that, and he just walks out.
You know what? You're not missing out on anything if you don't know about Guns N' Roses.
Well, the funny thing is, like, he's so stuck in the 80s, like, he doesn't know anything about, like, the internet or Facebook. They just play on that. It's so fantastic. You all need to watch Cobra Kai. It's great.
Actually, I can't say this word online, but it rhymes with Pitts Creek. I just finished watching that. I like cried when that show was over.
I saw that on pop up on Netflix, but I never actually watched it. I don't know anything about it.
It's really good. I love the characters.
What is it about?
It's about this family that used to be really, really rich, but then something happened and they lost all their money, so they have to move to this little tiny quirky strange town, and it's about them trying to resettle and figure out their lives. And it's really funny because they're really spoiled, and so they can't deal with anything.
Oh, I see. Okay. Is that where?
By the way, you guys, tell us in the chat how many of you guys are drawing with us.
Yeah, you all better be drawing and improving, because when we go in that Discord, expect to see some cool stuff.
Exactly. Oh, are you doing the lace at the bottom, Jordan?
I'll indicate it, but I'm not gonna go all out just because I don't feel like doing all those patterns. This is one of those instances seriously, this is one of those times where I would actually just make a brush or a stamp and just repeat that shape and not draw.
Really? You would do that?
Heck yeah, are you kidding me? Who wants to draw all this? Like,
I don't know.
oh my gosh. I couldn't even count how many holes there are. Just like, how about no, we take shortcuts.
You just fake it,
I mean, I could fake it, but if it came down to a situation where I had to be much more realistic, like if this were a painting, I would totally find some sort of cheat to do it and feel no shame whatsoever.
Well, I don't know about you, but even though I'm not doing like a full out rendering, I'm still drawing the feet because I feel like it's weird to not have the limbs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good point. Maybe, you know what? You inspired me. Let's make sure I get the feet in there.
Ha ha. Let's see. Michaela is saying, I am, but I ain't getting much better. It doesn't matter though, right? It's like any amount of practice, even if it's a really bad drawing, it still makes you better, don't you think?
Oh, definitely. And when someone says I haven't improved much in one session, it's like, yeah, of course you're not going to improve in just one session. You have to do it over and over again. It's sort of like being able to, it's like expecting to be able to play basketball with LeBron James after a pickup game. It's like, that's not going to happen. You're not going to be that good. And 30
nope.
minutes. You might have a couple highlights, sure, but it's not, don't worry about that. Just continue to improve. You will get better just by practicing.
I mean, that's where I think it's so similar to athletics. It's like, even if you go for a run and you didn't break the world record, it's like you still ran and you still got the exercise. It's like nobody ever says that exercise, oh God, that run was such a waste of time. It's like, of course it wasn't, because you got the exercise, right?
Right. Exactly. As long as you're making an effort, that's all that really matters. Plus, we've talked about this on many streams about how most artists won't show their bad work. So.
Oh, yeah. I think actually it's a problem because it makes people who are not as experienced think that everything just comes out that way.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And it does not. I can tell you that. Sonnet is saying, I'm drawing, but it's been so long. I'm struggling with this one. The sash was easier. No real anatomy like shoulders and such. Yeah, I mean, oh my God, there's a lot. There's like the hair, the lace, oh my gosh, it's so much.
Yeah. And the other thing too about this type of pose, I should have done this first, but ordinarily I would sketch out the figure underneath the clothing.
You do that?
Generally, yeah. Because and the only reason I didn't do it with this because I was just focused primarily on the folds, but my recommendation, like whenever I draw a character, I always draw the nude figure first because the clothes obey what the body does. You know, you're only going to have certain type of folds in certain areas, and if it's not obeying what the body naturally does, it's just not going to make sense. So I recommend, if you struggle with understanding the anatomy underneath, start drawing that first, and then overlay the clothing on top.
I guess that's sort of like when I sometimes did those skeleton studies, like you draw the skeleton first and then you draw the anatomy over the skeleton.
Exactly. It's the exact same thing. And there's a reason we do that, because it's helpful.
You know, there's a lot of like tiny wrinkles by the waist. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, this seems like a much thinner fabric. Because if it was
Well, this is just a more complicated photo.
That too. But this is one of those instances where I feel like the artist gets to pick and choose how many wrinkles they have, because if you do too many, it might start to look like eyelashes on her waist. But if you get the perfect number, it'll actually just feel like the curvature of the waist and the wrinkles and the fold in the clothing. It feels more natural that way.
What's driving me a little crazy is the plaid, that scarf thing that she's holding. This is hard.
Oh yeah, I totally feel that. I'm kind of skimping on that a bit.
I see your drawing, Jordan. I see.
Yeah, I'm just like, yeah. Focus. It's not the focus.
But you know what I do? For those of you guys who are taking the time to draw the plaid, I don't try to draw the pattern. I just draw shapes, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
So I keep it pretty abstract, actually. Oh, these hands. Stupid hands are so small. I'm supposed to do that.
I'll move to this next one here with your boy Hugh.
Oh, he's so... Well, he's not really hot in that movie. He's sort of like the older man. I don't know. He's not Wolverine.
I mean, if you're expecting me to comment on that, you will be sorely disappointed.
I mean, he never takes his shirt off, and it's just like not that fun.
Oh, poor thing. How will you ever survive?
Johnny's saying clothes are made to have a cut that shows off or enhances the body shape. It depends. I mean, I feel like with a lot of clothing, the fit, somebody said that earlier in the chat, is so important, because you know what's really funny? Did you ever watch Seinfeld, Jordan?
I've seen a couple episodes, but
so you know George Costanza, the really crazy one?
The really tall guy with wild hair?
No, that's Kramer.
Kramer, okay. Then
George is the bald guy.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So I actually read, because I went to this museum. It's in New York. It's called Museum of the Moving Image. And they actually had on display the outfits from Seinfeld. Really? And they had all this like commentary about the costume design and like how they decided what they were going to wear. And they said that with George Costanza, they purposefully picked clothing that didn't fit him well, so that it would look really awkward and bad, because like that's his character. He's a really awkward, anxious guy. And so by giving him clothing that was so awkward, it made him look even more awkward as a character. Isn't that cool?
Yeah, those are great details, especially for you character designers out there or aspiring character designers. Things like that are really, really key to know, because that's, like you said, it says a lot about who he is by having clothes that don't fit him. And if it goes with a storyline, just take it and run with it. I think that's super great.
Yeah, they also said for Kramer, it was the opposite. They said for Kramer, they picked clothing that was like super loose and very, what's the word? Flabby? I don't know. It was just like really loose clothing that would just like hang on him. Whereas like George had that really like puffy coat that had like all this stuff. So it just looked ridiculous.
That's awesome. That's so cool.
And I guess with Kramer too, not only that, but they also tried to pick like vintage clothing for him. So it was clothing that had a certain look to it, whereas everybody else on the show was more contemporary.
I have to pay attention to that. Like I said, I haven't watched the show enough, but I could totally see why someone would make those types of choices. Which is why I kind
It's
of
really amazing.
yeah, like that's kind of why I like some of the movies, like even like superhero films, because there's certain physiques that like a superhero character probably, I don't want to say should have, but usually has. And
Mhm.
a certain way that you design an outfit that really accentuates like muscles um, or what they represent as a character, like Captain America, for example. Like I love understanding and learning about that kind of stuff.
Okay, so Jordan, who has the best costume in the Marvel universe?
Best costume? You talking about like as a final production in the film, or like what they actually wear on set? Because sometimes they CGI a lot of stuff.
Oh, I don't know. I guess what they wear on set.
um, Either Black Panther or Doctor Strange, because like Iron Man or Tony Stark, he just has like a chest piece and
Yeah, it's kind of boring.
maybe some gloves, but pretty much from the belly button down is just regular, like some sort of cloth that they can CGI in later. Um, Captain America has a cool outfit sometimes too. But, yeah,
I mean, I think Black Panther won the costume design. It was like so innovative, the way that they incorporated all the different fabrics and patterns.
yeah, that one was really fascinating. Like as the thing that makes Black Panther so interesting is that it's a whole culture in and of itself. It's not just a character, because obviously you have T'Challa, but then you have Shuri, you have the what was the name of the priest guy? I think it's Zuri, I think is his name, and Okoye and the warrior women, Mir Delage or something. It's just so cool the way they took all that inspiration. So yeah, it's fascinating.
Cece is saying, love new hairstyle, Jordan.
Thank you, Cece. Appreciate that.
And oh, this is a good comment from Slepnir, who says sometimes garments are used to hide the forms. Absolutely.
Oh yeah, like we were saying, like the baggy clothing and stuff. That's exactly how that works.
Well, it's interesting because I actually took my daughter shopping yesterday, and she's so specific about what she wants now. You know, when your kids are young, you just throw stuff on them and they don't care, right? But now she's older and she really cares about how she looks in a way that she didn't when she was younger. And
Mhm.
so when we went, she's like, I want black clothes, but a striped shirt is okay. And it has to be loose fitting.
That is so specific. That would
I
make
know,
sure.
isn't it?
I was not like that as a kid. I was like, I actually dreaded going to the clothing store. I was like, please, oh my gosh, get me out. I just want to play my game. Get me out of here.
I hate clothes shopping too. You know what I do? I always go and I find one shirt and then I buy it in like 5 different colors.
Yeah, for me, I would always go with my mom, and every time I knew we were going clothes shopping, I made sure I had a fully charged Game Boy, and
Oh, really?
I was like, because we're gonna be here a while, and even if it was 20 minutes, it felt like forever. And so I was just, yeah, I was like, yeah, no, I'm not gonna be bored up in here. This is not happening this way.
I'm curious, you guys. Tell us in the chat who here loves clothes shopping and who here hates it, because I hate it. It's so boring. And nothing ever fits. Or if I do find something I like, it's like out of stock, you know?
I guess, yeah, that's fair.
It's like shoes, you know? It's like you find, oh, this is the right pair. And then they're like, sorry, we don't have that in a 9.
You know what? I don't even go in the section that doesn't have my size. I don't even go there. I just like, let's see what they have in my size specifically, and I will not be tantalized by anything else. That's how I do it.
I guess that way you're not disappointed, right?
Yeah. Plus, I kind of want to get in and get out. I got stuff. I got stuff to do. Things to draw.
See, that's why I don't understand. Like, people spend so much time on clothes. Like, I just can't do it. It's like such a commitment.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely appreciate looking nice and, you know, having nice, clean clothes and all that stuff. But shopping for them is a whole different story.
Although, I don't know, maybe it changes if you're rich, you know, and you can get like a nice suit.
I have tried to learn how to just shop on a budget. It's like I got $35. What can we do with this? How can I trip a penny? Like, I remember one time my cousin would do. He would go to Chipotle and he'd be like, "This is how you get the most out of Chipotle. Out of $10, you get this, and that."
Oh, he has it all figured out.
Yeah, he just plotted this stuff out. It was great.
So tiff.png says, isn't clothes shopping just an extension of costume design when you're the character? Yeah, my character is I don't care about clothes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, this is funny. Danielle says, I like clothes shopping by myself, but I hate shopping with other people. Oh my God, that's so true. You ever get dragged to a store, Jordan, with a friend that loves clothes shopping?
Oh my gosh. That happens all the time.
It's so bad.
Yeah. It's like usually when I go, it's like, let's look around every aisle. And when I go into a store, I go with a mission. Like I remember one time I bought, when I bought my iPad, actually, I went into the store and they're like, hi, can I help you? I was like, yeah, I want this iPad. And I'm like, oh, do you want to shop around? Like, no, I want this one.
No.
I gave them all the specs and I'm like, don't give me nothing else. I have no money to spend like that. I came in here for one purpose and one purpose only.
I do that when I go to the art store because if I just start wandering, it's not good.
Yeah, I go in with one or two things on my mind that I want to get.
Exactly. It's like you just gotta, I don't know, get in there and get out.
Right.
Because otherwise I'm like, oh, look at this new arches. Ah, it's really bad.
Yeah, I feel that. Totally feel that. That's why I draw on copy paper.
Let's see. Michaela's saying, I know you're practicing clothes, but would you have any tips for drawing hair? Always get stuck on the hair shape. Well, Michaela, we do have a lecture that I did about how to draw hair. So if you go into the playlists that we have on our channel, you should be able to find that. But I did that lecture. So Jordan, why don't you give Michaela some of your tips for drawing hair?
The biggest tip I would give for is to make sure you're not drawing every strand of hair. I think that when we see a person, like if you're looking at Clara or myself, you will see clumps of hair. You might see some things being captured in the light, some parts in shadow, but they're bigger shapes. And every once in a while, you'll see a little strand. And I think that's where people get caught up because they're 20 feet away from their subject and they're trying to do every single little stroke of the strand of hair, and it just doesn't make sense. So focus on shape, focus on in broad strokes where the light hits versus where the shadow hits, and then focus on the texture of the hair. Like just between Clara and I, our hair textures are very, very different. So learn the different motifs, I guess, the design motifs of how you would draw different types of hair. Hopefully,
I also think it helps to look at the direction the hair goes in.
Mm-hmm.
It's like my hair just goes down. It doesn't really do much else. And if you look at different people, sometimes their hair is going across or sometimes it's going under. So there's a lot of different things.
Yeah. My hair is kind of doing like a coil spiral thing. So yeah, that's the way my hair is. So yeah, it just depends on the subject. And then sometimes they're bald, in which case you don't really have to worry that much.
You know who's really handsome, who's bald, is Patrick Stewart.
Oh,
oh, I love him.
I'm sure you do.
No, I mean, like, I'm not like lusting after him, but he is a good looking bald man, you know?
You know, he actually did the funniest commercial with Mark Hamill not that long ago. Have you seen it?
No, what is
They're like, they're advertising Grubhub or something like that. And they both are doing like this standoff. And Mark Hamill has the Star Wars thing going on. And he's quoting all the Star Wars stuff, and then Patrick Stewart's doing all this stuff for Star Trek, and it's just hilarious. You can probably see on Instagram at some point, but it's great. You guys got to look that up after our stream.
You aren't into Star Trek, are you, Jordan?
No, I've never seen it.
Never?
Never.
Oh my gosh. I mean, like I'm not like into Star Trek, but I definitely have seen it. But it's more because like someone in my house is watching it. You know, it's not like I ever put it on.
Yeah, my family didn't really watch Star Trek. Quite honestly, space operas never really interested me that much. I don't know why. But it's just something about the genre. I'm like, it's okay. I can see why people like it. It's just not really for me, which I think is okay, depending on who you talk to. Some people are super fans and like, you better like this or else.
I know people have opinions, right?
Right. Like with Avatar.
Oh man, I'm chickening out on the hand. Ugh. Oh, guys, why can't it be under the shawl? Like that would just be better.
Just give her a pocket.
I know, that's what she needs right now.
A little pocket in the whatever blanket thing she's holding.
This is a good one. I like this clothing that she's wearing. It's pretty. It's got like very visible areas of tension. You know, it's like not ambiguous.
Yeah, that's true.
How is Hugh doing? Is he treating you okay?
Hugh has no face, but he's doing. But he's doing okay. You know, I'll give him sideburns because sideburns are fun to draw. But yeah, there's a lot to focus on with.
You know why I don't like him in that movie? Because he's stressed out in that movie. He doesn't get to be funny. He's so funny.
Well, he has other roles where he gets to be funny.
Well, I just love when Wolverine gets all like fuzzy and nice. You know what I mean? Because he's such a badass. But then like once in a while, he's like really sweet and kind, you know?
Yeah, that contrast is always fun. I like that kind of stuff too.
Well, I don't know if you probably weren't there when this model was there, but there was a model at RISD who is sort of similar in build. Like he was this big, muscly guy. And he sort of used to pose with this very intense look. But he was so soft-spoken and like really kind and gentle.
I think, is he like 6 feet tall?
Maybe.
I think I know who you're talking about. I
yeah.
Know the name, but I'm pretty sure I know who you're talking about. Yeah, he was super muscular. I felt like I was drawing a superhero. It was great. I love that.
Yeah. No, he was awesome. But I think sometimes that's common. It's like these people that look so big and gigantic. It's like they're actually like very soft and sensitive.
Just a big teddy bear.
Exactly.
You know
you're. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was gonna say someone who I think is like that based on what I've seen on the internet is Dwayne Johnson or The Rock.
Oh yeah.
Like he's just gigantic, and I remember seeing a video of him with his daughter who's like 3 or 4, and they're watching Moana. You know, he did the voice of Maui in the film, and he was singing the song "You're Welcome," and she's like, "Daddy, stop it! You're ruining the movie." He's like, "That's my voice." It's just so cute. I love that stuff.
Oh my God. I saw this. I think Hugh Jackman was on The Late Show or something. And so he said that his son had a friend come over and ask him all about Wolverine this and Wolverine that. And he said his son said, "Look, my dad is nothing like Wolverine. He's not cool and he's not tough."
Oh my gosh. You know, that reminds me of, Chris Pratt, the actor?
Yeah.
He has a son who for Halloween dressed up as Captain America. And there's a picture of the paparazzi capturing that because he's Star-Lord, and he just looks like this, like what am I going to do? He wants to be Captain America. I can't tell him no. He's like 4.
Oh my goodness. Mike Davis is saying, "Are you using a reference photo? Can we see it?" Yep. Sorry, I took it away for a second because I wanted you guys to be able to see the drawing a little bit better, but let's put that back. And by the way, you guys, There are links to the photo references in the video description below. So if you guys want to take a look at that there, I actually found a very high resolution image of this. But you guys can look at that for your own reference. And I hope some of you are drawing along, because I don't want all of our teaching to have gone to waste, right?
Right. That'd be terrible.
I know, I put so much time into the slideshow and finding all those photos of Jane Eyre and Michael Fassbender.
Make it
I
worth
swear,
it.
that's the only reason I can get through the slideshow building.
Oh my goodness. Guys, make it worth Clara's while. Just, we want to see those drawings after our stream.
Exactly. Well, you know something? It actually is hard to find a good reference, because I was telling Jordan earlier that a lot of the images of dresses don't show the bottom. They just show the top. And I actually feel like the bottom edge of the dress is pretty important. Like if you can't see it, it's hard to really show the motion that's going on. And by the way, you guys, Jordan and I are going to be hanging out in the Art Prof Discord in a few minutes. We're going to be in the post, no, not the post live streams channel. Sorry, the Draw Along channel. I forgot to change the banner. The Discord invite link is in the video description below. Subscribe to the Art Prof YouTube channel and join the Art Prof family. And we want to give a big shout out to our top Patreon supporters who make everything possible so that we can continue to provide our content 100% free to all of you, so you can learn visual art. Everybody, thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye.